The question over here is minimum cost to make at least one valid path in a grid. Now, understanding the ask, you are given a grid where every cell contains an arrow and a number 1 till 4. So 1 means it's pointing to the right, 2 means left, 3 means down, and 4 means up. So imagine there's a robot over here at the top left cell, which is 0 0. Now at each cell the robot moves in the direction the arrow tells it to move. So when the robot comes to the bottom right cell n-1, n-1, like our aim is for the robot to come over here. Now the catch is that if you just follow the arrows, you might get stuck in a loop and wander off and never reach the goal. So you're allowed to change the arrow in any cell, but each change will cost us 1. And you can change a cell's arrow at most once, and you can change as many cells as you like. So the question is, what is the minimum total cost needed so at least one valid path exists from the top left to the bottom right corner? So as I said, a minimum, and then each change also has a cost, which means a weight. So it's, if you think about it, there's weight 0 if you move in the direction of the arrow, and weight 1 if you move opposite the direction or a different direction. So you can use a 0-1 BFS solution, and that's what I've used. I'll run you through the code. So we are going to start with getting the grid, the length and the column of the grid, so the number of columns and the number of rows. Then we have directions, so 1 2 3 4. Now each direction, so 1 is right, 2 is left, 3 is down, 4 is up, as given in the problem description. Now you have your distance of distance RC. It will hold the minimum cost found so far. So to reach that RC, we initialize everything to infinity to begin with, except the starting cell, which cost us 0 to reach because we are already there. Then we process the queue. So we are starting with the top left cell, so we are going to seed that in the queue. And then as we discover cells, we will add them here in an order that keeps distance sorted. So it's ordered by distance. Then as we go about in a BFS question, you will start with a while loop and process cells until the queue is empty. We are going to pop and then unpack. And then this will give us the cell with the smallest current distance. Because it's sorted, it will be sorted by distance. Then cost is the known best distance to reach this particular cell. Now we are going to loop over 4 possible directions. Now sign is the arrow value, and then we have our direction, so our coordinates over here. And what we're doing is we are taking the values that we popped from the queue, we are adding it in our dr and our dc, so our coordinates, our movement basically. And then we are assigning it to be nr and nc, which are neighboring cells. This is our boundary check, which is again classic BFS. Now over here, this is quite important. So what we are saying is that if the direction we are trying, so which means the sign that we are trying, if it equals the arrow already in the current cell, so the movement is free, right? It doesn't cost anything. So our W will be 0. Otherwise, we would change the arrow, so the W will be 1. Now over here we are saying that if the if reaching the neighbor through this cell is cheaper than any path we have found before, we update the distance. So the cost plus 1 cost plus w, if it's less than distance of nr and nc, then we will update this to be cost plus w. And this is how it's different than a plain BFS, because this is a 0-1 BFS. So what we are doing over here is that a free move, which means if w is equals to 0, as we did over here, if w is equals to 0, it's a free move. We are not going to change anything, which means the neighbor has the same distance as the current cell, so it should be processed at the same level. So we are going to push it to the front. And a cost 1 means that neighbor's distance is 1 greater, so it should be processed later, and that's when you are going to push it to the back. Now when we keep the queue ordered this way, it guarantees that we pull the globally cheapest unsettled cell from the front, and at the end we are just going to return m minus distance of, so this grid, and m minus 1, n minus 1. So this position will hold the true minimum cost to every reachable cell, and we return that's why we are returning the bottom right corner, which is the answer.